Mommies, Meetings, and Mimosas, where we chat with leading supermoms who are balancing motherhood and business like a boss. Today's show, I am so excited. We have an in-studio guest, but first we have Lori Orlinsky. She wrote a book called Being Small Isn't So Bad After All. I saw this the description of this book, and I was so inspired. So I'm excited to share her story with you, and also that you will, too, be inspired. So welcome to the show, Lori.
Thanks, Sabrina, for having me.
Absolutely. So before we kind of chat about your book, can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I am a mom. I have two daughters. They are 6 years old. So my daughter, Haley, who the book is about, she's in first grade. And I have a 3.5-year-old named Ellie. So she's in pre-K this year. And we live in Chicago. And we are your typical family running around every day trying to balance work, motherhood, gymnastics, dance classes, dinners, kind of the works.
Amazing. So what was kind of the inspiration behind starting a book? I mean, with this crazy busy schedule, it's hard to find time, but the story is so passionate. How did you kind of come up with everything and get started?
So being small actually came about from a personal experience that Haley and I shared. So I've always wanted to write a children's book, but I never had the aha moment, that particular inspiration to write one. And one day she came home from school. She was about 3 years old, so she was in pre-K, and she just was quiet and crying. And it was really unusual for her because she's a very outgoing child, and it took a lot of crying. But I found out that they had done a growth chart activity at school. They were kind of redecorating the classroom, and the teachers hung a growth chart where they put, the kid's name on masking tape next to each height marker. And it was the first time for Haley that she realized she was different because her friends' names were at the top of the chart and at the middle of the chart, and her name was all the way at the bottom with no other names in sight. And it was also the first time that Haley's friends realized that she was different, and they started to call her Munchkin and Peanut and Shorty, and even the teachers called her this. And, they thought it was really endearing, and she felt like at 3 years old she was different and she was being bullied, and she felt that this is something about her that she can't change, and she immediately, went into that kind of fight or flight mode, and she got really sad. And in just talking to her, I would always say to her, because I'm only 5'1", so I would always say, well, you're the last one to get wet when it rains. And, I would tell her all the cool things she could do, like find the best hide-and-seek spots. And, she wasn't listening, so I ended up just doing what I thought any other parent would do. I went on Amazon and I typed in books about small kids, and I was shocked I couldn't find anything. And that was my aha moment, and I thought, let me write a book about it.
I love it. I mean, to take a challenging situation and come up with something that promotes self-confidence and really makes a positive out of a negative experience. What has been the reactions? I see that you have so many amazing reviews on Amazon, and it's just the 5-star across the board. So what did that feel like once you kind of got the book out there and reactions started coming in?
Thank you. Well, originally, the intent behind the book was to make kids like Haley who were struggling with their height feel better about themselves. But in writing this, and after I released it, the feedback was that there was this universal message of self-confidence. So looking at life with a different lens. So if a kid feels that they have something that makes them different, first kind of teaching them to accept that and then develop confidence. And it's just so amazing because that application could go into so many scenarios. Kids with different colored skin, kids with different textured hair. I mean, it's really just amazing how people are using the message in the book to adapt it to other kids' lives. I was recently invited to Lurie Children's Hospital in Chicago, and I led a discussion with children from all across the board, patients in the hospital, and I kept it initially very light. I said, what's something that makes you different? For example, I'm left-handed, that makes me different. And it kind of came full circle to me when there was a girl that said, well, I love this book because it makes me realize that I'm unique because I had a heart transplant and I have someone else's heart in my body and I'm special. And that was just that moment. I wish I could hold on to it forever because it really made me realize that the book has messages that are resonating with children, not just short children.
And how is Haley's self-confidence now, kind of after the book and sort of probably I imagine some self-discovery and sort of self-realization?
She's definitely, well, first of all, she thinks she's famous because she tells everybody, I'm the girl from the book.
Oh, I love it. So
Um,
cute.
but she really likes it. She really uses being small to her advantage. She's definitely the smallest in her class, probably in her grade, and she relishes in those little advantages that she has. Like she'll show me on the playground after school that only she could like flip through the monkey bars and hang upside down because she's tiny enough to fit in the small spaces. And so I think that she likes it. And when somebody uses it as a negative and says, oh, well, you're the shortest, you have to go to the front of the line, she immediately flips it and says, great, I can't wait to be the leader. So Haley definitely has not only self-acceptance and self-confidence, but she also has a very healthy dose of empathy for others because she was on the other side of it.
Absolutely. And October is National Bullying Month. So this is definitely a great book you can order it pretty much everywhere. Where is it available?
So being small isn't so bad after all. Probably the best place to get that is on Amazon.com, but it's also available on BarnesandNoble.com, Target.com, and Walmart.com.
Amazing. So, well, do you have plans to write another one or anything else in the works?
I do. I have a second book coming out early next year in 2020. It's called The Tooth Fairy's Tummy Ache, and it's a little bit more imaginative than being small. It does have a lesson about honesty using the tooth fairy of all things. So it's about a little girl who swallows her first tooth, and without giving everything away, she places something under her pillow that is not a tooth, and gives the tooth fairy a little bit of a tummy ache. So it's a fun, imaginative story, and I've always been really fascinated with the tooth fairy. Um, and probably I was late to lose my first tooth, so I believed pretty hard, and so I think it's important that kids have fables like that to believe in.
Absolutely. I remember, I think I tied a string on my tooth and I put it on a doorknob or something. I think
Oh
that's
my
what I was
God.
like. I wanted to see the tooth fairy so bad. Well, thank you, Lori, so much. And I'm so excited the way that we connected. There's this great community called the Chaotic Commute. And I had Melissa and Brittany on, and they're so inspiring about just really connecting what I like to call the super mom and about empowering one another. So just so excited to have had you on the show, and we look forward to reading all about the Tooth Fairy.
Thank you so much for having me, Sabrina.
Have a great Sunday.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right. Well, welcoming next to the show. After that, that was like a heartwarming sort of like Hallmark moment. I feel very like warm and just amazing to see the opportunities in life, right? Your daughter comes home from school, she's upset, rather than getting angry and going and yelling at everybody. You know what? You write a empowering book. Like that's so inspiring.